As you are watching this video, I am probably still at the White House. I have no idea how long the event is supposed to go on for, but today is the White House Social Media Summit. There are a lot of people who are attending who I think are questionable individuals, and that's fine. But I hope I can bring some rationality and facts to this discussion, whatever it may be. I think there's a lot of people who immediately jump the gun and think there's a grand conspiracy against them, when in reality it's actually like human behavior, nuanced circumstances. But yes, I do believe there is a bias, particularly against conservatives, mostly stemming from the fact that the people who build and moderate these systems are liberal. Not that it's a grand conspiracy, it's just that things are slowly falling in one direction due to the structure of how social media works and how these media companies work. But of course, because I will be there, I am being smeared quite heavily. And it's all good fun, I gotta say. You know, there's a point, I think, maybe like after Occupy Wall Street, when the smears started coming out. You get any kind of public attention and the haters start coming. There was one guy who was now like, I don't know, he was arrested on felony charges for being like Antifa or something, for attacking some guys. But he would like come to events and accuse me of stealing like 80 grand from Occupy. Like, this ridiculous nonsense. But as you go higher in terms of like, as you grow in terms of public notability, the smears get more sophisticated. Media Matters has now put out two, they're not really smears, they're kind of smears. It's like false framing to try and make me look bad or something. But I have to say, we're going to go through a bunch of the smears so far, and they're quite fun. So I think you'll enjoy this segment we have. Media Matters. This is a story from the 9th. It's been updated. And at first I was kind of upset no one was including me in the smears. I was like, come on, man, I'm coming to the event too. Why won't you tell people I'm going to be there? Well, first, there's a problem. See, Tim Pool is pro-progressive tax. I have made several videos going into great detail about why I believe that progressive tax is the right thing. I am pro-choice. I've also made several videos going into great detail about why I believe pro-choice is the right thing. I'm actually pro-public health care and, in a sense, pro-UBI. Now, I've spoken out against universal basic income quite a bit. So I thought it would make sense to actually kind of clarify how I really feel for a grand scheme vision of the future. I think universal basic income, universal health care, and universal education are actually things we should fight to attain. I don't believe we can attain them now, so as such, I'm kind of a reformist, and I think we should slowly move in those directions. So I'm pro-public health care, pro-social programs, and to an extent, pro-UBI. The problem with UBI, and why I say to an extent, is it's very hard to implement correctly, and I don't think we're at a technological level to attain that yet. Maybe. But I think a future that is a very Star Trek-like future with replicators and a very equal society. Like, Star Trek's a great thing to strive for, but it's not communist like many people would argue. So UBI to me is kind of like, can we get to that point? Let's fight to do it, but if it's not possible, let's not hold our breath. Universal healthcare, I think, is something we absolutely should get no matter what, but it can't be done overnight, and it's certainly not going to be done in this administration. But I don't want to rant about my politics. We'll break them down as we go through the smear. Media Matters called me an extremist. Oh, wow. Here are the extremist figures going to the White House Social Media Summit. And they start with Bill Mitchell, who I don't know. Carpe Donktum, I also don't know. Charlie Kirk is, Carpe Donktum's the meme smith guy. Charlie Kirk is Turning Point USA. Prager University is, social media content. We have Ben Garrison, who was removed. He makes cartoons. I love this. Will Chamberlain. I actually consider, of all these people, I know of some of them, but Will I would absolutely consider a friend, though it's not like we hang out or anything. Because I've had him on, my channel several times, and I talk to him, fairly often. Not too much, but I consider him a friend. And they said that Chamberlain pushed a likely hoax smearing protesters at a Cernovich speaking event. That's it. He tweeted out a banner from an event, and the next one is, he pushed a smear from far-right troll linking journalists to Antifa. So he wrote a story where he quoted Quillette and said he thinks they're trustworthy. That's all they have on Will. After years of producing, congratulations, Media Matters. That's sad. That's all you could get. Come on. Will's way more politically active than I am. And I'm not even right-wing as much as they like to claim I am. But here's the best part. Keep this in mind. They claim he pushed a smear from a far-right troll. Okay. Check this out. You guys are going to love this. Your good friend, Mr. Poole, is, quote, nearly the direct center of a network of far-right YouTube accounts. They actually say a study found Poole was at the near center. Doesn't mean anything. This is fake. The alternative influence network thing is fake. But don't worry, it gets funny. Now, first, they claimed that Will Chamberlain was pushing a smear from a troll, linking journalists to Antifa. It's quite literally identical to this. It's the same kind of crime web with little dots pointing in different directions. So they're mad that a conservative did the same thing, but then think it's justifiable to criticize me for what someone on the left did. It's literally the same thing. Now here's the best part. They say I'm near the center. Literally doesn't mean anything. I'm sure they know it doesn't mean anything. The center just means I've interacted with people on how it's literally they draw it. This was drawn. None of it makes sense. There's no data deciding who will be in what point of this. And more importantly, the connections are fake. I'm not exaggerating. They're literally fake. Some of them are real. Excuse me. But they're fake. Like they connected me to Stefan Molyneux. Like, dude, I met the guy one time, like 6 months after this came out. And it was like in passing where he was like, oh, hey, Tim. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you. And that was it. Literally the extent of which I've ever interacted with the guy. They've connected me with a bunch of other people like Destiny. Destiny is like a left-wing Twitch streamer. I've never talked to the guy. I barely know who he is. So so it's funny that they claim that being the center. So I guess I'm your mastermind. That's the joke. But here's the great thing. They claim a study found me near the center, but then literally go on to say that I pushed a far-right troll linking journalists to Antifa, which is the same exact like kind of study. But here's the best part. The video I did actually was critical of the study, saying, take it with a grain of salt because these crime web things are used to smear people like they've done to me. And I said, just because someone may have interacted with Antifa on Twitter doesn't mean they support them. But I can say some of these journalists absolutely are Antifa, which is why I said verified journalists are exposed working with Antifa. So it's funny that they're going to use a discredited fake study. It's literally fake. I will say that as a statement of fact. It is fake. And then go on to claim that someone else's study was fake. Talk about double standards. But there's the first smear, which is fun. But don't worry. I got a lot here. Check it out. This one from Vox. White House hosts social media summit without social media companies. Now, this one's funny because it was updated today in the morning. And yesterday, I tweeted to the author, Bill Ottman of Minds, the CEO of a social media company, is in fact invited. They're just not inviting big tech. Why? Perhaps it's because Jack Dorsey was just at the White House. These people have lost it. Okay? Listen, Trump literally had Jack Dorsey at the White House, like a few weeks ago? Is he going to be like, hey, come on back? Or is he going to say, maybe I should talk to other people in the space who have experience in this matter? And thus, Bill Ottman, the CEO of a tech platform, has been invited. But wait. Don't worry. As much as Vox is trying to falsely frame the summit as not even having social media companies when they are, Vice takes it one better. Check this out. Ben McCooch says, so I just found out that fringe site Minds.com, once a choice place for neo-Nazi militant groups, will be at tomorrow's social media summit at the White House. But Twitter and Facebook weren't invited. My story for Motherboard. Wow. You know what the story for Motherboard was? This dude went on Minds and found like 4 accounts and flagged them, and they got banned. And that's it. And look at what he says. Once a choice place. Is that a joke? More fringe extremists use Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are literally choice places, way more than Minds is. And here's what they write. Trump invites fringe social media company popular with Nazis to the White House. It's just literally not true. Minds actually isn't that popular with Nazis. It's nonsense. And so what my response to this guy was, for those that aren't familiar with who this guy is, he's been in an ongoing legal battle because he's refused to turn over chat logs with ISIS to law enforcement. What do you think I could say about him then? That Ben McCooch, a known collaborator, I tweeted this to make a point. I don't literally think he's collaborating. I get it. He's doing journalism. This isn't journalism. So why he thinks he can smear a small tech company in protection of massive billion-dollar... Why are you defending Facebook? Of all people, Mark Zuckerberg's creepy, invades our privacy. But sure enough, all of these people rush to the defense of Facebook if it means owning the cons. These people have lost it. How have we come to a point where regular Americans with no power are protesting against massive corporations that suppress speech, and they rush to the defense of massive corporations. Like, these people claim to be on the left, but like, as far as I can tell, they're like pro-corporate neo-libertarians. They love the Koch brothers. Why do you protect this industry? It's nonsensical to me. So there's actually another smear piece because Media Matters just, here we go. And so this is a smear piece they put out a day later. And they say the White House Social Media Summit is just another stunt to game the refs. So here's what I'll do in this one. Let me break down what they try to claim against me as proof. So first, they claim that I offer little more than speculation other than decontextualized anecdotes. Okay. I have never claimed, or if I did, I apologize, because it's hard to track literally everything I said. But I have been repeatedly of the opinion that there is no grand conspiracy. It is a series of anecdotes that prove a bias. Now, I understand the plural of anecdote is not data. The issue is Jack Dorsey said, perhaps we were too aggressive policing this meme as right-wing activists. Jack Dorsey said, our conservative employees are afraid to speak up. Google documents have been leaked. Those aren't anecdotes. The leaked Google documents are evidence in context, referring to right-wing individuals, conservatives, as fringe fart extremists. Statements from Google employees, as well as a breaking news story from Gizmodo proving that Facebook employees routinely suppressed conservative news. That is not an anecdote. That is former staffers speaking to a left-wing media outlet saying, yes, we do this. That is evidence, at least one bit, proving social media companies did or have at least at some point held a bias against conservatives. So they're wrong. They go on to say that my video, Google email leaked proves conservative censorship. It literally does. It's an email from a staff member saying, we know these people are bad. Can we suppress them? So that's proof of censorship. I'm not saying that there's a grand conspiracy of people going, no, I'm saying literally there's employees saying we are biased. We want to censor people. So they try to take it to the extremes. They go on to then try and claim that this tweet I posted, check this out. I said, David Nywert was banned because of a book he wrote and the symbols on the book. So I tweeted, see, when you advocate for censorship, it will always backfire as nah, F it. I've said it too many times. LOL at dude getting suspended. Okay, but for real, why can't these people ever learn? I think most of you understand the context of the tweet. I'm not actually celebrating him getting suspended. In fact, the video I made about it was a call for him to be reinstated, and he should absolutely be allowed to have his speech, as is my consistent stance on speech. Left, right, whatever. People have a right to post their images and call these people out. Of course, Media Matters is trying to claim that it's proof of inconsistency in my free speech crusade. Oh, please. It's called whoosh. The point went over your head. They then go on to try and claim this very weird white nationalistic argument that the reason conservatives are banned more is because they break the rules more. Sounds very familiar to what the racists try and claim about crime in the United States. They don't seem to have a consistent understanding of logic, plain and simple. No, the issue is the rules themselves are biased against conservatives, of which I do believe they go on to claim that they said Pool has pushed this one specific rule as an example of Twitter being biased against conservatives in reference to. So actually, let's read this. Pool has asserted that Twitter, by definition, is a biased platform in favor of the left. Period. As proof, Pool points to the fact that Twitter's harassment policy bans misgendering of trans people. Never mind that Twitter bans all sorts of things. For instance, just this week, the site expanded its hateful conduct policy as it relates to dehumanizing language used against people on the basis of religion. Full stop. You're criticizing me for something I said before a rule was enacted? That makes literally no sense. And my point remains valid. Misgendering is something that only exists among progressive ideology. Even moderate liberals don't agree with this policy. So yes, it is an ideological bias, predominantly targeting conservatives who are very outspoken in opposition to this. So I don't know what else I have pulled up. I have a couple more stories I'll go through. The Daily Beast writes, Will Summer, who called me right-wing, like, dude, I don't care what you call me. It's like, are you trying to smear me by saying I'm right-wing? It's like absurd because I'm left to the left of Obama. But they say Trump's social media summit mortifies White House and rages far-right allies. Okay, he brings up a good point in that there's a lot of people who are throwing a fit that some of us have been invited. There's people saying, why haven't any of the people banned been invited? Let me try and break something down, okay? Was Trump playing it safe? Apparently not, because no matter what, all of these smears are still coming out. But it is important that people like me and Bill Ottman, among others, go to this event and speak up about the problem of massive, unaccountable billion-dollar corporations suppressing speech and injecting their morality. I have argued I have no right to YouTube recommendations, and I believe that's still true to this day. If YouTube wants to promote me, that's something different than hosting me. My speech is not suppressed simply because YouTube won't recommend it. Now, there's a good point that Bill brought up when I mentioned this to him, saying that if you sign up for a website and it tells you these are the terms, that terms should be applied evenly. I can respect that, but I still don't believe recommendations are a right. However, I recognize that if YouTube, the second biggest search engine in the world, weighs their search in favor of the left, we have a massive public crisis. And we shouldn't allow massive billion-dollar corporations to use this. It could be essentially, if it ends up favoring politicians who make videos, could that not be an in-kind donation? Recommending someone like Andrew Yang, for instance. What's the value of that recommendation, and is that a legal in-kind donation, or essentially illegal if they don't report it? The bigger issue is we need to get people who can come to the event who probably are a little safe, although they've definitely brought people who are not safe, who can actually try and make some change happen. Styx Hexenhammer called on me and many others to not go to the summit, and I think that's a terrible idea. I have tremendous respect for Styx. I think he does great work, and I think he's a pretty good dude who stands on principle. But I disagree in this regard. It's as much as I don't like the fact that Ben Garrison was disinvited, because once again we're seeing the media play games with smears. I think it's important to actually go and try and get. Look, I'm a moderate. I'm not a conservative. As much as they want to smear me as an extremist or right-wing, whatever, none of it makes sense. I'm going to be one of the few people, if not the only person, at this event who has actually disparaged Donald Trump. And I do it a lot. Okay? I have said crude and crass things about Trump and called him crude and crass. Plain and simple. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. So my political position is kind of like, I'm not a fan of him. He's kind of bad, but he's not that bad, right? And I say not that bad in the sense that, like, they think he's literally the reincarnation of a certain leader of World War II Germany, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's nonsense. I think he's done he's got character flaws, which I think are bad for a leader. I think it results in division and divisiveness. I think he speaks too often off the cuff, speaks without thinking. These things ultimately are divisive, and I'm critical of them. So it's important that someone who has been willing to openly criticize him will be there as well. Personally, I think they should have done more to bring in more left-wing voices. There are certainly people who could have come, but I guess it's an issue of, do they know about them and do they trust them? I think David Pakman would have been a great individual to be there, especially considering he's been covering this YouTube push towards pro-corporate content, which is another big problem we're seeing. These outlets like Vice, like Vox, like Media Matters are acting in defense of massive corporations, be it the mainstream media or big tech giants. I can't quite understand it. Media Matters claims to hate Fox News, but they're acting in defense of massive corporate infrastructure. Why? I don't know. David Pakman, love him or hate him, I think I like his work. I think he does a good job. I disagree with some of the stuff he does, but that's normal. Ultimately, I think he's professional and he's calm and he's willing to talk to people, and that's one of the most important things we can see from progressives. He's been covering how YouTube has been promoting corporate voices and suppressing my and his voice and other independent creators. That's a really important, perspective to bring to the White House. The White House could have done more to bring liberal and progressive voices who are good faith actors and want to speak up. There are certainly anti-war left-wing activists, people like Jimmy Dore or Rania Kalik, who I think would have been good to bring as well. Not saying they would have accepted the invite. A lot of left-wing individuals might have said absolutely not. My stance, and probably why they smear me all the time, is probably due to the fact that when someone like Trump or conservative says, let's have a conversation about a solution, my response is, okay, I'm willing to hear what you have to say. Whereas many people on the left are saying, don't do it. You can look at the soccer star, I think it's Megan Rapinoe, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, who said she wouldn't accept an invite. No, I think it's very important to accept the invite and to meet them on their terms and say, here's what I think you're doing wrong, here's why I think you're wrong, but here's what we need to solve. And I think a lot of the people who follow me, especially these people who will be at the event, who are excited to see me there, know we disagree greatly. But it's interesting that you have so many conservatives who are saying, let's just have a conversation and figure out what the solution is. And then the left just screams, Nazi over and over again. Sorry, that's not going to solve anything. It's going to make things worse. So I will absolutely, so to the point about Styx, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to try and temper a lot of the more, I'm concerned there are going to be a lot of more right-wing conspiracy-minded individuals. I think even with James O'Keefe, he's presented a bunch of evidence, and he has this opinion about why censorship is happening. I actually think I'll disagree with him a bit. Even with his evidence that we can both agree on, I think one of the bigger issues is pro-corporate, pro-establishment, predominantly anti-conservative, because Trump supporters are anti-establishment populists. Trump was not supposed to win. So it does primarily affect those Trump supporters, but it also does impact liberal individuals like David Peckman is getting suppressed, and Rania Kalik has been silenced. And there are other people who are smeared by the Southern Poverty Law Center, like Ben Norton, I believe. And there's some, I'm forgetting the other name, so I apologize. But I do think that it's a pro-establishment, pro-elite, pro-corporate, pro-status quo that's targeting those who dare challenge the system. For the most part, it does target conservatives because at least the establishment does hold some liberal values. So not only do they target the anti-establishment, they target conservatives. If you're on the left and you agree with the progressive narrative but challenge the oligarchy of big tech and corporate media, they shut you down. Occupy Wall Street activists have been shut down. People like Global Revolution, people I personally do not like and do not like me, I will absolutely mention, they have shut down Occupy Wall Street activists. This is a serious problem. Primarily that big tech should not be the arbiters of truth and morality, and I'm going to go there and let's talk about it. The last thing I will say is there's this really great piece, strangely from Fox News, about Minds.com, MINDS.com, that is working really hard to bring about a human layer of moderation, the jury system. How did we come to a point in my life, a lifelong like Democrat left-leaning individual, where Vice is smearing and lying about Minds, who's trying to actually, fight back against extremism, and Fox News does a great long-form piece breaking down the solution, the plan, the problem, and how the social media site works. Well, I shouldn't say it's long-form, but it's a bit long. How is Fox News becoming the real news? It's mind-blowing to me. Even Donald Trump is slamming Fox News as becoming too moderate. What a weird world we live in. I don't know when the event will let out, so maybe I'm out already. I have no idea, but thanks for hanging out. Stick around. I will have more segments coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews, and I will see you all then.